owning a business 100% is a sales job. You have to put yourself out there and push yourself to do that. Get uncomfortable. I know a lot of us creatives generally don't like to sell ourselves or talk about ourselves, but you really have to do that, and that's hard.
Hey there, I'm Maida Leon, and my mission is to help creatives like you translate what you love to do into a highly profitable income. I'm a mom of 3 who began as a lettering artist and grew it into a 6-figure business. If I made it possible, so can you. Every week, we'll dive deep into topics like building your confidence, getting comfortable talking about money, and nurturing your passion while juggling life and family. So if you're an ambitious creative who wants to craft the life you love, get cozy, feel at home, and listen to the Confident Creator Show. Terence Tang, also known as Tinland Studio, is a visual artist from Houston, Texas, who is passionate about telling stories through custom lettering and various media. His work can be found on his lifestyle goods, in a variety of publications, in restaurants and coffee shops, and even on custom sneakers. And in this episode, we'll talk about the things that not many creative entrepreneurs and business owners talk about publicly, the challenges and difficulties of working for yourself. So welcome to the show, Terence. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today.
Hi, Mai. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I know it's funny that we have met on social media for a long, long time ago. And this is the first time that we are actually meeting face to face.
Yeah, the internet's funny that way. I know I've been following you since like the beginning of my lettering journey. So it's I think this has been a long time coming.
And yeah, I have been following you as well. So I know that we have a very hot topic today. So before we dive into that, would you mind sharing to our listeners and telling them a little bit about you, your background, and where your creative journey started?
Sure. So I guess the creative journey started just graduating out of college. I came out with a film degree thinking that I was going to, like I knew that even though I graduated film, I knew that I wasn't going to have like a big shot Hollywood career. So I went the route of graphic design and web design. So I did graphic design, web design for quite a while in a corporate setting, and then moved on to doing some agency experience and a little bit of tech startup. But along the way, picked up a little photography, which brought me back to video. And, since the pandemic and the lockdown, I've been experimenting a lot more with painting on shoes and even painting on some canvas. So I've been kind of all over the place, pivoting a lot, trying to find the right formula that works for me. I also have a wife and 2 kids. So the family dynamic definitely makes a big difference in kind of the way that I steer the ship, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting. What a long journey. Huh? And I know everybody, a lot of people, well, actually all of us has been affected by the pandemic, and so many people have pivoted. So I know you're already working right now in a different setting, but could you tell us a little bit when you were working for yourself? Like how long were you doing it?
So I worked for myself. Let's see. So I quit my full-time job in 2015. And I tried so that's when I started my business, and I tried full-time for about 3 years. And so during that time, I was trying to start a lifestyle brand that was based on my lettering work. And I was doing everything online. All the marketing online, all the sales online. I would attend conferences to just kind of meet people and network a little bit. But I wasn't doing any, in-person markets or anything like that. Like I was just trying to do everything independently.
Yeah, I think most of us, our batch started with hand lettering. And then eventually we started branching out to each of each other's, whatever, business. Okay, so some of us have turned into business coaches, online educators, course creators, but ultimately lettering is still going to be our first love, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about what was the biggest challenge that you had in your business?
I would say the biggest challenge that I had in my business was probably there's a couple things. One was finding balance. Like I was having a hard time trying to figure out how much energy to pour into my business and also have enough energy left to focus on my family. Because at the time I had a 3-month-old baby. It was our first baby. So I was trying to figure out how to be a dad. I was trying to figure out how to still be a husband. And then I was trying to figure out how to be a big shot entrepreneur, right? Like everyone starts a business setting out, trying to get somewhere, trying to get kind of big, right? And so it was just trying to figure out how to divide that time, because it seemed like anytime I focused on one thing, the other part would suffer and I would just never be able to find the right balance. And it was just that was like kind of that mental struggle there with trying to figure out, okay, what do I do this? Do I go here? What do I do? That was probably one of the hardest things. The other hardest part about having a job is that I saw this on a post somewhere recently, but when you work for yourself, it's a sales job, no matter how you cut it. And that is so true. Like I thought I could just start my business and my design work and my creative would lead the way and it would kind of sell itself and I wouldn't need to market and I wouldn't need to sell and push. I thought that would just kind of grow on its own. Right. But, owning a business 100% is a sales job. You have to put yourself out there and push yourself to do that, get uncomfortable. I know a lot of us creatives generally don't like to sell ourselves or talk about ourselves, but you really have to do that. And that's hard.
Yes, basically, especially when you're starting out and you don't know exactly what you have to do. Like, how am I going to grow this business? How am I going to start this business? How am I going to, get this to take off? Right? There are struggles like that. And not many people wanted to talk about it because, I don't know, either they feel embarrassed about it or they wanted to make people think that, oh, I'm doing okay and this is all good. But like I said, I was talking to other lettering artists. I think it was the other day with Jimbo. Do you know Jimbo Bernaus? Mm-hmm. So I was talking to him and also for the podcast. And we were talking about the creatives who doesn't have children and those who can actually generate a lot of lettering work for Instagram, because what they do every single day is probably get up and do their thing and work on their lettering. But as parents who have children, the very first minute we wake up, we have to change diapers, prepare breakfast for the kids, or get them to school before we can actually start our day. And yes, it is not easy. We make it sound like it's easy sometimes because some of us have built systems and processes to help us with the business. That is one thing that I have learned, building systems and processes, because I used to work for 14 hours a day. All right. So when I started working, I was barely working for 2 hours, 4 hours when my son was taking a nap. That's how I started the business. So I was very picky with my clients, and I don't take clients that don't pay me well. So that was my leverage. That was how I was able to charge a lot for my work. And but when we got help, so when we got a carer, and she stays with us, she takes care of the kids' needs in the morning, and of course Alphonse's needs as well. I had a lot more time to work, and that is when I started working for 14 hours in a day, and I was so done with it. But I also, in my case, I did not want to go back to corporate because, I don't know, I'm just not built for it. But I developed my systems and processes, but it took a while. Like it took me years. People think that my systems and processes was built in a day, but it actually was years and years of work. You have to know where you're good at. You have to discover the things that you're terrible at. So your zone of incompetence, what they call. And then what is your zone of genius, and then your zone of excellence. Okay. So those are things that takes years to actually establish. And before you can actually do that, you're going to experience a lot of difficulties in the business, like potentially selling one day and the next you're gonna hit a plateau. You know those stuff, right? So did you experience the same thing?
Yeah, that's certainly true. I mentioned that I started my business in 2015 full time. It's 2021 now, and I'm finally just now starting to understand the right formula for myself, the way I work, what I like to do and don't like to do, the time commitment that I have to dedicate, the mental capacity I have to dedicate. Like that formula has been building since then, and it's probably going to still continue to evolve. But this is the first time since 2015 that I kind of finally feel like, okay, I think I have something figured out, and it's not what I thought that it was going to be when I set out in 2015, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But it's looking like it's working now, finally.
Yep. And wow, that was what, 6 years for you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For me, it was long time. Like I started blogging in 2007. And it was only in 2018, about 11 years after that I have, learned what do I actually wanted to do. And I had a very long journey. So I used to design scrapbook products and then lettering to online education. It took me Alphonse. So Alphonse was actually a catalyst into finding all of these clarity. But if we don't take action, we can't find that clarity as well. So clarity is in the doing, right? So that part of the journey, no matter how ugly and difficult those are, that's going to be things that you need to experience in order to get to know and get to where you are right now. But and this is something that not a lot of people wanted to talk about. You said about over glorification of working for yourself when we were chatting. So a lot of people talk about the benefits, the rewards of working for yourself, but not a lot of people wanted to talk about what are the struggles. So we're just starting on the struggles. So are there any other things aside from your work-life balance that you find really, really hard about selling your work or potentially getting more clients? Have you had those challenges as well?
Oh man, I've just financially, it's been a big drain because, when you work full time, you get benefits generally, right? So like your health insurance is covered.
Yeah.
And so, but then when I quit my job, I had to jump on my wife's health insurance, which it's weird how that works in that if you add a spouse along with the kids, like the whole family, the health insurance like almost doubles. It's a little ridiculous. And so, whereas when I was employed, it was much cheaper. So when I quit my job, not only am I losing that salary, I'm also increasing the cost of health insurance. Like it's little things like that just a whole lot of things compound and just start to build. And you're like, oh, now this costs more, and now I have to do this, and it's crazy how that kind of happens, and not a lot of people realize like, oh, there's a lot of stuff that just kind of builds.
True, and I remember during the days when I was also working for myself and just starting hand lettering, I used to worry about getting clients, right? Because you don't know when new clients are coming in. And what I did was actually I tried to spread out my client in different months. So sometimes I'm working a client for 4 months, and that's okay. And then a client is going to come in, and I'm going to tell them that, oh, I am free in the next 2-3 months. So that is how I maintain the pipeline. However, there are also what we call the dry season, right? July and August are basically dry season for me. So I don't get clients around that time. And if I don't have a backup, which is actually my husband's salary, I probably will accept just about any job just so I could sustain the business, right? And that is, I think, one of the common problems that many creators are having, because others are really just jumping without actually preparing themselves, like preparing for a couple of months so that they could have what they call a cushion, so that when they're finding their groove in the business and waiting for clients to come in, they still have money to pay for the bills. Crazy, right?
Yeah. So my wife is a teacher. And so we all know teachers are very underpaid.
Yeah, same here.
And graphic designers are, we're not exactly investment bankers either, So we have probably two of the lowest paying careers, but we're both passionate about them. And for me to set out on my own, that was really rough. I wouldn't have been able to even do that had we not had a little bit of cushion for it. But man, we basically went to one income, one teacher income. And that was really, really rough. And like you said, after 2 or 3 years, when the clothing, the lifestyle brand wasn't working out, I pivoted to doing freelance. I started taking freelance design, and I really didn't want to do that. I was trying not to ever do freelance design ever again. But I had to take it, and I had to take basically anything that came in, because it was just, at that point, we had our second kid. So it was all right, I really got to take anything that comes my way. And it was really soul crushing.
True. And especially because these freelance work and working for clients, it could also cause creative burnout because you're exhausted. You are the business owner. You're also the admin. You're also the creative. You're also the social media manager. You're wearing all those hats. And so you are going to get exhausted really very easily, right? I know that because I have experienced that myself, and I don't know how I was able to cope up, but somehow I did. But it's funny, and having those experiences has not only made me stronger, but that is also the same thing that I have been teaching and telling a lot of people. Okay, you're going to be wearing too many hats, so you have to be careful what projects you say yes to, and you have to be careful who you say no to. Okay, you have to be picky who you accept as a client, so that you're not draining your energy, because one-on-one work, client work, custom artwork, that could be draining. And you also put yourself on an income ceiling, because that is, one-on-one work is not scalable, right? And it's a lot of effort to work on client work and then maintain that balance of having a family, and then social media. You always have to be present, so you always need to create for social media, and then you're gonna have to create to clients. Have you also experienced, because I experienced this, when you're working for a client, you're gonna be super quiet on social media because you're too busy with creating for your customers? Yeah,
completely. I mean, it's just certain things have to go away just to deal with clients. So I think it's funny. Here's something that people that don't have kids, creatives that don't have kids, they don't realize is, yes, when you work with clients, that's one set of drama, right? And you have to you have to manage those expectations and everything, right? But then when your kids come home and they start acting crazy, or they start spilling things, or they start throwing things around the house, or they're creating chaos around you, right? That's taking mental drain from you too.
Yes.
And you're having to parent them. You're having to say, okay, maybe let's not throw that, or let's act like human beings, but they're kids, they're going to be gremlins. And so
forever.
like, so that mental drain in itself, like, takes away from your creative batteries too. Like,
Yes.
that's really, really tough.
And even up to now, it still happens to me. Sometimes I am in the middle of the coaching call and I can hear my son screaming. So I have to excuse myself sometimes just so, hey, excuse me, because my son is screaming. I have to look what's happening out there because, he has a heart condition and then lung pressure. So I'm worried when he screams like that, it's going to aggravate his situation. Hopefully not. But of course, I'm worried a lot. So even in the middle of work, you can get disturbed by your children. At least the girls who are older know a lot better. But my son who has special needs, he cannot distinguish whether it's time to disturb mom or not. Okay, so that's sometimes, yes, it could be draining. And there are also days so he sleeps with us. Okay, so he sleeps with us, but there are days when I ask my sister-in-law who stays with us can you keep him for the night just so I can have a break from being with the kids, especially with Alphonse, because he's a handful. Like a typical kid requires 100% attention. A special needs one requires a lot more. So when I was lettering and still taking care of my son, when he's still napping and I don't have help, I have to stop everything when he's up, when he's awake. Because pretty sure he's going to throw whatever it is I'm holding on. And he is going to rip every lettering work that I have already done. And you don't want that.
Yeah. You have to like put everything up and out of reach. Just so that it's like, oh, he's up. Like pick everything up quickly.
Yes, and I also had to share my pens with my children, with my daughters. Sometimes I'm going to see them using my microns and I'm going to be like, what are you doing with my microns? And Mom, I'm drawing. I like it. So
don't press so hard.
I know,
put the cat back on. Yeah.
And those were the days when I only have a few microns on hand. And I wasn't able to afford to buy a lot. But now, of course, we all have all those different pens. But it's funny how children affect our business and the way we do work, but we love them. So don't get us wrong. Yeah. We love our children.
For sure. But it's all completely worth it.
Yes.
It's just harder.
Yes, definitely. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about, I know we have talked about you being your own boss and working for your business and how challenging it was. So what made you go back? I know you're in the corporate world right now. You're back to having a full-time job. What made you go back to the corporate world?
Really, it was just the exhaustion of having to chase clients. I'm not a great salesperson. I'm not someone who's geared to send out 1,000 emails a day and just try to like cold call, cold email work. I find it very difficult to do that. And, in turn, that has affected the amount of business that I get. Right. So like, it was basically kind of like a check to check situation for a little while doing freelance, even doing murals. With murals, it's, you do a mural and it's pretty good pay because it's a bigger project. You get paid and you're done. And that's what attracted me to doing murals. But even then, it's still something that a lot of people see as, I'm losing my words. It's still something that people see as kind of a luxury, right? Like it's, especially during pandemic times, budgets are cut, they're redirecting funds. They're going to start cutting out the luxuries, so the creative, the art, the fun stuff goes away and not as many people want the murals from you, or they're going to go to muralists who are more experienced or have the time and energy to do 1,000 emails a day and, that sort of thing. And so it was really that struggle of, okay, I'm clearly not generating enough business and I'm not wired to, I'm not going to generate enough business. And so Okay, so I have to go back to corporate, but I'm not going to go back to just any situation. I'm going to find the right situation that's, where it's, the benefits are good, the pay is decent, but also the work and the mission is something that I can get behind and not be soul crushed every day. And, it took a little while to find that, but I think I finally found that.
Yeah. And we were chatting earlier before we started the podcast that you might have left the creative world for a while and get on your full-time job, but that doesn't mean that you're living it for good. Maybe this is just another, avenue for you to explore whatever it is that is along your path. And then at the end of the day, you're going to go back to having your own business. This could be just another, path for you to take so that you can have that money that you need in order to pay for the needs of your family and also have a roof over your head, food on the table. We have to sustain ourselves if we want to build our business. And a lot of people have asked me already actually about that. So I don't know if you have gotten that question. How do you start having a business? Okay. A lot of people have asked me about that. And my answer is always, the question is, how do you start your business if you don't have money? Okay, so that is the question. And I've always said, you don't. Because you cannot start a business if you don't have money. Like, how are you? What you have to do instead is to sustain yourself first for a couple of months. And if you want to really push and working and getting your own business, then that is the time that you start. And don't go on it full time. Do it as much as possible. Go on a side hustle first and then do it gradually until you are earning a lot more in your side hustle, because that's exactly how I did it. So I was working full time as a infrastructure lead for a Fortune 500 company. I'm an engineering graduate. So, and then I was designing scrapbook products on the side. So I was blogging and then designing scrapbook products on the side. And then it took me 2 years before I left my full-time job. And that was when I was making a regular $2,000, $3,000 per month from my scrapbook designs. So when it was already stable, and that's a lot of money in my currency, okay? That's, I think, times 4 of what I was getting that time. That much, 400% of what I was getting that time. So it was really a no-brainer to leave my day job and just focus on designing scrapbook products. So don't go right all in, because you don't know how long it's going to take for your business to.
Yeah, I would say that's probably one mistake that I made right off the bat, is that I left too early, knowing that, I had this following that was kind of growing, and I was growing my lettering skills. And I thought that I was onto something. I felt like I was onto something. But instead of continuing to build it as a side hustle, I just went full in. I just went all in on it, and it was way too early. And, if I were to do it all over again, I would wait. I would keep building it on the side until I really have something viable, like you did, which I didn't at the time. I was just like, ooh, I'm talented. People are starting to know me. I think I have to try to build this thing full time, even though I don't really have anything yet. And that was the mistake that I made. And actually, now being in the corporate job that I'm in now, a lot of the people that work there actually have side hustles, and they kind of encourage that. So I'm still going to keep doing what I do. I'm just basically reverting back to, before I quit the first time. So this is kind of like my second chance to do it right.
Yeah. Like doing it the right way this time around. Right? And it's amazing because you have great talent. I love your work on Instagram, and I love your combination of your painting and then the lettering stuff. Those are so much fun. And I think you have been working for some famous brands as well. You have worked for famous brands as well, right? So it's really, sometimes people think that, oh yeah, I can make it this big because I'm already getting more following. I know so many creatives who have fallen into that trap. But just because you have so many followers on social media, it doesn't mean that you can convert all of those followers as paying customers. So that is the common mistake. And not many people know that, yeah, you have to build following, but also not just following. You have to build a following of people who are actually willing to either hire you or buy your products, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I learned from someone that like 1% or less of your audience will actually buy something from you.
Well,
and I was like, really? Like, okay. But I found that actually to be true.
Yes. That is so true. But that is when you have an email list. So it's different in social media. It's different when you sell on your email list. When you sell on your email list, chances are 1 to 3% of the people in your email list are going to buy. When you sell on social media, it's a different scenario altogether, because depending on what your presence in social media is, you could have a bigger influence in social media. Or if you are more present in your email list, then you're going to have better chances selling on your email. In my case, emails have worked so well for me. But I'm also like you, I'm also pivoting this year. So it's a never-ending pivot, right? A lot of people think that when you start a business, that is going to be my business forever. No, it is a never-ending pivot. Once you find something, you're going to do it for quite a while, and then eventually you're going to venture out into something else, because your business model might change, your target market might have changed, their behaviors might have changed as well, and you will change. You will learn a lot. And you will discover that, hey, there's a lot more things that I actually wanted to do, not just this, right? And because we're creatives, we get so bored easily.
Yeah, and pivoting is one of those things that's also really hard to know. You know, there's the danger of pivoting too late, which I've done. And then there's the danger of pivoting too early, which I've also done. and so it's kind of trying to know, okay, this is something I need to stay with, or this is something I need to abandon. That's like the hardest thing. I don't have it figured out. But I mean, yes, a successful business must pivot at some point. It has to.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just to know when. That's really hard.
Yes, but I don't think you did something wrong. You know, in my case, I always tell everybody that every decision you make is part of your journey. So it's just a matter of how you look at it. So I think in your case, yeah, you might have jumped early the first time, but that is part of your experience. It's part of your journey, just part of your story. So maybe in the coming years, you're going to be able to tell people, hey, this is what I did wrong the first time, and this is how I did it right the second time around. And I went back to corporate full-time, doing job full-time again, and then working on my creative as a side hustle, and that is totally fine. There's nothing really wrong with that, for as long as you're willing to, you know, do everything that it takes in order to get back on your feet, and instead of struggling, right? Because you have to choose one way or another, and you have to choose your family first. So instead of your pride, like, hey, I'm a successful creative business owner, even though you're not, a lot of people have been in that situation because they are, I don't know, they're soaking up on the fame and not realizing that, hey, I'm not really making money from this. So if you're not really making money from what you're doing right now, and you're suffering, your family is suffering, maybe it's time to jump in back to the corporate and get a job so that your family won't suffer, you won't suffer, and then you can do your side hustle a lot better, because you will not be scrapped for cash. And you can charge more because you can leverage a, hey, I have a job. It's not like I need the money right now, right?
Yeah. And I don't understand why in the creative field there's so much glorification of having your own business, being freelance, or even like working for an agency versus corporate. Like why is corporate kind of the bottom of the of the prestige ladder?
Yes.
Like I don't get it.
Yes. Where in fact, like I said earlier, people might not realize that having a business is not for everybody. Like I know a friend who I have been convincing, because she's a great coach, And she said, yeah, I coach people, but I don't like that setting that I own the business. I'm more comfortable when she is comfortable that she's getting money every single month. And she doesn't have to worry whether she's going to get new clients in every single month. So it might work for someone else, but it doesn't mean that it might work for you. Or if you are comfortable with it, it doesn't mean that other people are comfortable with that as well. You just need to really know who you are and what you want. But if you want it, then go for it. But if you know that you're already suffering because of it, maybe it's time to look at it again and see how it goes.
Yeah, it's funny how like just that slight change in the way that the formula works like makes the hugest difference in success versus, like struggle.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yes, it is weird, but sometimes it takes a lot of mindset shifting and courage to try and do things again and be willing to actually accept that, hey, I made a mistake. I wanted to correct it. Okay. And I think you have been brave in your decision to go back to corporate world. And I know you're enjoying your job right now. You just told me about it. And yeah, it takes a lot of courage to actually step back and redo the things that you may have done before and try to do it better this time around. And we have a saying, I don't know if you have heard about it. I have, all of my business coaches have been telling us, if you want to go fast, go slow. So taking a step back is actually a lot better sometimes because like when I first launched my mastering hand lettering course and I made 6 figures from it, I really went all in. And then I don't realize that some parts of my business are already suffering and my social media has already been suffering as well. And what happened was I was not getting enough engagement on social media. It feels like I'm not visible in social media anymore. So eventually, my lead generation system has been stagnant for a while. So I had to really stop and pause and analyze, what have I done wrong? I know that I have done wrong because I was actively going on for the next big thing. Because I made it big the first time and I wanted to make it big the second time around. So I was aggressively getting on it. And I didn't realize that some things are already suffering. So sometimes going a little bit slower and looking back, smelling the roses is a great strategy in order for you to really look at what's happening in your business and in your life and make a decision from that.
Words to live by for sure.
Oh my goodness. All right, so I love that we are able to talk about these things today, Terence. And while it's rewarding to work for yourself, like I said, people need to know that it may not be for everyone. So I would like to really thank you. I know you are so busy with your job right now. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. I wish we had 2 hours for this episode, but we really appreciate your time. And
yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, before I let you go, can I ask you to give one piece of advice to someone who may be at the crossroads right now of whether they have to push for their creative dream business or go back to corporate life?
If you're in corporate and you're thinking about pursuing full-time, I would just say to make sure, look at everything. Make sure you have like a proper runway, to a financial runway to really get this thing going, because it's going to take a lot. It's going to take time. And when you're starting a business, you don't want that pressure of, oh crap, when is my next paycheck coming in? Like, you're going to want to know that you're good for a while before you really dive into this, because you're going to need all your mental energy and strength to put into this and make it happen. If you're thinking about going back to corporate, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, just the other way around, right? Like if it's not working, you got to tell yourself, have the conversation with yourself that, it's the hard truth. Like, I've had this conversation with myself several times. It's like, dude, it's not working, but that's okay. Like you gave it a shot. It doesn't mean that It's over. It just didn't work this time. So go back to corporate and you'll might get another shot down the road. But, and this is harder than easier said than done, but try not to feel like you failed, because I felt like I failed over and over. But it's just, you just have to kind of keep trying to tell yourself you didn't fail. It's just something that didn't work this time and it could work later. Just go back and keep working on it, just keep working on it. And who knows what opportunities are going to come down the road. Who knows if this corporate job is going to end up being the dream job you didn't know you needed, like my current one. It just, you never know.
Yes. And I think there's really nothing to be ashamed of, right? Because I have felt that somehow. When I was in scrapbooking and my sales have dropped, my husband was actually looking for a job for me in the corporate world. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go back to corporate. I feel ashamed that I'm going back to corporate. But right now that we are all doing these things and I have had more clarity and I've talked to so many different people in creative, there's nothing to be ashamed of. It doesn't mean you fail. Okay? It doesn't necessarily mean that you fail. It just means that you have found the clarity you need and now you can redo everything a lot better. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is awesome. Great advice, Terence. So one last thing. Tell us where we can find Terence Tang online or Tinlan Studio, because I know you're not leaving your creative world yet. We are still going to see more of your amazing work for sure.
Yeah, you can find me at tinlanstudio.com. From there, you can see my work. You can also get access to my shop, my online shop. It's still up. I've almost hit cancel on that shop so many times, just out of like emo failure vibes. I'm just like, it's not working. I'm just going to cancel it, but it's still there.
You can still sell those. I have seen the paintings. Oh my goodness, I have seen the paintings. I actually, if you are near and it's not like miles away, I wanted the letter M sent to me because I love it. I've been looking at it on your Facebook post and I was like, I wish he was near so it's not a lot on shipping, because I know shipping can cost a lot. Right? Sometimes it's more expensive than the product itself. I've had orders in Amazon where the shipping is more expensive than the product, but it's crazy and I like it. So we'll see.
Yeah, if I still have the M, I'll hang on to it for you. Maybe sometime we'll get to meet up at a conference or something.
Yeah, yes. All right. So if you didn't catch up on the links that Terence have provided, they will be in the episode show notes. Just head over to mydeleon.com/Tinlan Studio. That's TINLUN Studio, and you'll find everything you need. And if you like this episode, leave us a review on iTunes, because every time you do, you help the podcast get discovered by other creatives who need the inspiration and motivation to pursue their own creative dreams. And as always, keep creating and stay confident. Until next time, this is Mai.